found something in the Goblin tunnels.
What did you find?
My courage.
Good. You'll need it.
Dragonfire and ruin. That is what you will bring upon us. He cannot see beyond his own desire.
Welcome back to Kermode Uncut. This morning, I sat in a preview screening and saw The Desolation of Smaug. Not Smaug, incidentally. Desolation of Smaug. And as I was watching it, I thought, as I think many people will, it's quite long. I mean, this is the second of three movies based on what is essentially a pretty slim book. And people talk about this all the time and say, well, he did the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now he's doing a trilogy based on the shortest of all the books. How can you manage to get 3 movies out of that book? And I started thinking about it, thinking, yeah, it really is. That's a lot of movie from very little literature. Then I started doing the maths on it. I started to figure out exactly how much was on screen in relation to what was on the page. I mean, look at the frame rate, look at the word count, look at the letters count. How does it work out in terms of what's on the page and what's on the screen? I've come up with an answer. It's a mathematical answer that I like to call the decimalisation of Smaug. Let's start with the actual length of the films. The first Hobbit film in the cinemas, 167 minutes, although an extended version now exists at 182 minutes. The second Hobbit film, Desolation of Smaug, that's 161 minutes in theatres, but that will obviously come out in an extended version as well. So let's say that will come out 180 minutes. Now there's a third film still to come. Let's assume, for the purpose of argument, that'll also come out around about 180 minutes. That makes a total running time of all 3 films in their extended versions of 542 minutes. Now, The Hobbit was filmed in 48 frames per second. Interestingly enough, the press screening this morning of The Hobbit Desolation of Smaug, they showed us in 24 frames a second. They said, in fact, 4 out of 5 screenings in the UK are going to be in 24 frames, but it is available in 48 frames. So I think we have to do the maths at 48 frames. So 542 minutes, 48 frames a second, that comes out at 1,560,960 frames of film. But what about the length of the novel? Everyone says The Hobbit is a short novel, and the fact of the matter it is. I mean, different versions have different paginations, but they range anywhere between 270 pages to around about 320. So for the purposes of argument here, let's take the top end. Let's take 320 pages. So 1,560,960 frames divided by 320 pages. That gives you 4,878 frames per page. Think about it. That's nearly 5,000 frames of film per page of novel. But what about the word length? I mean, I sort of thought approximately, well, each page will have like 300 words. You do the division on that. That works out about 16.26 frames of film per word. That's about a third of a second for each word. That's not too long. That's absolutely fine. But I wanted to be more accurate. So I went to the Lord of the Rings project, which told me that in fact The Hobbit has got 95,356 words. Some people come out at 95,022 words, but I think we're going to go for 95,356. That's the number of words that I'm going to stand by as being in The Hobbit. If you divide 1,560,960 by 95,356, that does indeed give you an average word length of 16.36981 frames. So that's pretty close. Third of a second per word. What does that tell us about the letters? Turns out most English words have got on average 4.5 letters in them. And obviously no word has actually got 4.5. It's like everyone's got 2.5 children. But 4.5 letters as an average word length. 95,356 times 4.5 comes out at 429,102 letters in The Hobbit. Now let's get right down to the nitty-gritty. 1,560,960 frames divided by 429,102 letters equals 3.36 frames per letter of the book. So what does this tell us? Well, honestly, not that much, except for this. Contrary to popular belief, Peter Jackson isn't actually stringing The Hobbit out. In fact, he's romping through the novel, spending just about a third of a second on every word of Tolkien's prose. You may have thought the films were long. In fact, they're shorter than they could be. The message we can take away from this mathematical equation is, hey Peter, take your time. You've got plenty of it.
Well, thief, where are you? Come now, don't be shy. step into the light.